r/AskReddit. What's a fun history fact that not many people know? In ancient Syria, there was a local custom in which the people would hail the sun as it rose every morning. A Roman legion, the 3 Gallica, picked up the custom while stationed there for a while. In 69 CE, during a series of civil wars known as the Year of the Four Emperors, Titus Flavius Vespasian declared himself emperor and marched on Rome. The Legion 3 Gallica was one of the legions which rose to support him. The legions of the reigning emperor, Vitellius, met Vespasian's legions at the city of Bedriacum in northern Italy. The armies fought all through the night. In the morning, as the sun rose at dawn, the soldiers of the Legion 3 Gallica turned and faced east and began to cheer at the rising sun. Vitellius' forces, not knowing of the Syrian custom, assumed that Vespasian's troops were greeting reinforcement arriving from the east. This caused a collapse of morale among Vitellius' forces, which lost them the battle. It's possible that Vespasian's army would have won the battle anyway, but in the event, it was the 3 Gallica hailing the sun which decided the battle and the war. The armies of Vitellius disintegrated. Vespasian's armies captured Rome. Vitellius was killed, and Vespasian reigned as emperor for the next 10 years. The first fleet to Australia, landing on January 26, consisted of ships divided into male and female convicts. After having been at sea for several months and disembarking onto the beach, there was a good deal of sexual tension, such that it was feared a riot would erupt. In order to prevent this, the commander gave orders to allow the male and female prisoners to mix as documented in the ship logs. Thus, the first official act on Australian soil, and celebrated annually on Australia Day, was a huge orgy. During the hunt for the German battleship Bismarck, a Polish destroyer that was part of the British destroyer flotilla sent to harass her, or Piran, allegedly flashed the message "I'm a Pole." Other sources have stated the message was 3 salvos in honor of Poland, before opening fire on the battleship. It seems the ship's crew were eager for some payback for the invasion of Poland, as Piran would exchange fire with the much larger ship for over an hour, all by herself, and only begrudgingly agreed to back off when she started running dangerously low on fuel. One of the biggest heists in Japan's history was committed by a single man. He sent a letter to the manager of the bank, saying he will blow up his house if he doesn't give him money. The bank manager set a marked car to hand him the money, and the drivers were stopped by a police officer saying the house just blew up and that he needs to check the car to see if it had a bomb on it. One of the passengers noticed smoke coming from the car and ran for cover, as well as everybody else. When they looked to see why the car didn't explode yet, it was gone. Everything they found at the scene of the crime was a popped flare. The only lead the cops had was the description of the false police officer, so the culprit was never found. Not sure if this qualifies as a fun fact, but anyway, here goes. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a novel in 1838 in which 4 shipwrecked survivors, at the point of starvation, choose to resort to cannibalism. So they kill the young cabin boy, Richard Parker, and eat him. In 1884, a ship called the Mignonette sank. 4 crew members survived. At the point of starvation, they killed and ate the youngest of them, Richard Parker. Classical era China changing dynasties because of a bad day of rain and a drunk moron. The guy's named Liu Bang. It's 3rd century BC. He was chief of security. Liu Bang is escorting prisoners. He drinks too much and fall asleep blackout drunk. Some prisoners escape. When he wake up, he free the other and run away, because letting prisoners escape is also death penalty worthy. Some of his friends in the army that are stuck due to heavy rain and are at risk of death penalty for being late to an official event. They start a revolt, amass around 10,000 villagers, but it fails. Liu Bang is inspired by this and wants to make his comeback, and is still fearing for his head, so he create a revolt in his county. Revolt gain traction. He takes the capital. It's the end of the Qin dynasty and Liu Bang becomes the Emperor Gaozu, first of the Han dynasty. All of that because someone drank on the job and his friends were caught by rain. Alexander Hamilton came to America in the 1700s after a giant natural disaster struck his home. the Caribbean island of Nevis. His government sent him to America after reading a letter he wrote describing the natural disaster. It was so beautifully written that they gave him the funds and everything to go to college and get smarter so that he can return home with his newfound smarty pantsness and help figure out how to give his island a makeover to look more alive. But he died before returning. Lin-Manuel Miranda presented the Hamilton show to the island now 300 years later and donated all the proceeds to helping the island and its art/entertainment district. So in a way, it's a roundabout story that started in 1700s and ended in 2000s. One of Sam Houston's freed slaves, Joshua, took his owner's name after emancipation. When Houston died, Joshua returned to his widow with a carpet bag filled with his life savings, some report as much as $2,000, to gift to her in her believing she and her children would become impoverished. She declined the money, having the support of her family, and instead urged Joshua to use the money to give his children a good Christian upbringing. Joshua Houston would later go on to found the Bishop Ward Normal and Collegiate Institute and serve as a delegate in the 1884 Republican National Convention, among other things. He's buried in the same graveyard as Sam Houston in Huntsville, Texas. Canada's landmass technically includes a tiny piece of France. For their work in Vimy Ridge, a notable victory for Canada in World War I, the French government declared a square kilometer of the place the eternal property of Canada. A monument to the soldiers exists there. Also, the Netherlands send Canada thousands of tulips every year as thanks for sheltering the royal family during World War II. Canada even fast-tracked a measure to declare a hospital maternity ward suite extraterritorial, because royals must be exclusively Dutch citizens to retain their right to the throne. Most people know about King Henry VIII and his later years with all the wife beheading and church seceding, but a lot of people aren't as aware of his early years in power. In 1520, he and King Francis I, France, and their various advisors were attempting to avoid a war. They held a summit that would become known as the Field of the Cloth of Gold. This summit was essentially just the two young kings challenging each other to a royal laugh. The goal of the advisors/courts was peace, but the goal of the kings was to be the most extravagant and ridiculous. This historical event featured all kinds of shenanigans, from Henry outdoing Francis with his temporary palace constructed on site, literally, stained glass windows and everything, to Henry drunkenly challenging Francis to a wrestling match, which Henry lost, to Henry getting back at him when Francis was unable to draw back Henry's English longbow, having lacked the years of training needed to do so. This whole extravaganza culminated in a peace treaty being signed, and both young kings forming a sort of friendship/rivalry. 1 year later someone else broke the treaty, and they had to go to war with each other. The Pope at the time was quoted as saying something like, "Well, what was the whole festival for?" Amo Koivunen was a Finnish soldier in World War II. He was carrying amphetamines for his group when they were ambushed by Soviet troops. Koivunen got tired, which led to him taking all 30 amphetamine pills he had, then passed out and got separated from his group. After waking up, he skied over 250 miles, escaped from Soviet troops again, got hurt after setting off a landmine, and lived off pine nuts and a bird that he caught and ate raw. When he was found a week later, he weighed less than 100 pounds and his heartbeat was around 200 BPM. I love telling this story because it's just ducking insane and almost no one knows about it.